I went for the screen test, and the director said, "You're a shit actress," and I just I just couldn't take that. I said, "What? No! I mean, I really love this job." And okay, then I said, "Please, please, 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 please give me one more chance, and I'm gonna come back tomorrow." Honestly, CD, I had no idea what I was going to do different tomorrow. But
Ah,
I just had the 2 or 3 pages with me. I went back home and I put in every minute I had till tomorrow to repeat, repeat. And I didn't eat, I didn't sleep. My mother thought I was going crazy. She was worried sick. She said, "Forget about this movie. It's no big deal. You're a good actress. You don't have to get this movie. Just don't go crazy like this." But I said, "No, ma, I have to give my 200%, not 100, but 200%." And so I just went. I just took as much as I could, took all that in. And next day when I went and performed, he said, "Manisha, if you were 0 yesterday, you are 100 today."
Most of us never learned how to train our brains, which is why most of us needlessly settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. My name is Chris Doris, and I want to make brain training mainstream. This is my series, Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I'm interviewing badasses from all walks of life on what mental toughness means to them and their unique approaches to strengthening their minds. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I am your host, Chris Doris, and if you're not getting my daily dose mental toughness tips in 30 seconds or less delivered every morning around 6 a.m., wherever you are on the planet, and if you're not getting notified of my blog posts that go live every Tuesday, and if you're not getting notifications of these new Tough Talks podcast episodes, then please let's address that, shall we? By going to ChristopherDoris.com/lists, LISTS, ChristopherDoris.com/list, name, email, click, and you get all the goodies. Now, our guest today is a very special guest, is a very special person in my world, a dear friend that I've known for over a decade, who has changed my life. I've done a lot of personal development work in my life, and our guest, her name is Manisha Koirala. She introduced me to a place called the Oneness University in southern India, outside of Chennai, and it's changed my life. Of all the work that I've ever done, that is the most profound, and that's a big statement. So now let me read you a little bit about Manisha. If you don't know, Manisha Koirala is one of India's leading film actors, born into the prominent Koirala family of Nepal. She made her Bollywood debut with Saudagar in 1991 before going on to establish herself as one of the leading actresses with films such as 1942, A Love Story, Akele Hum, Akele Tum, Bombay, Dil Se Company. She took a break from acting in 2012 and returned 5 years later with the coming-of-age drama Dear Maya, Netflix Lust Stories, and Sanju. Well, the reason she took a break from acting, it doesn't say it in here, is because she got diagnosed with cancer and almost died. She was appointed the Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Population Fund in 1999 and again in 2015, and was involved in the relief work following the Nepal earthquake in 2015. She promotes causes such as women's rights, prevention of violence against women, prevention of human trafficking, and cancer awareness. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2012, has been cancer-free since 2019. This is her book, Healed, How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. Isn't that great? How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. So I love mantras, and the mantra that I feel is particularly relevant here is every set of circumstances can be created from if viewed masterfully. Well, Manisha didn't just survive from stage 4 ovarian cancer, which, by the way, is less than 5% chance. She has capitalized, she has leveraged, she has created from, she has done the work that most people will never do, which is deep introspective personal development and spiritual healing work. as a result of this whole experience, and now has reinvented herself in a way that is purely courageous, because it is, you know, I'm not a famous person, and I appreciate how much harder it would be for me, if I was, to write a book about like all my vulnerabilities. And she does that, which I think is nothing short of absolutely spectacularly beautiful, courageous, and inspiring. So I am so pleased to be able to share with you my dear friend, Manisha Koirala. Let's go find her and have a great conversation, shall we? Here she is, the one and only Miss Manisha Koirala. My goodness, I've been waiting for this interview for so long. Thank you so much, my friend, for making time for this. And I know it's so late over there. We're a world apart, so it took some doing to get this scheduled.
Absolutely. And it's pleasure's all mine, CD. I love talking to you. So thank you for having me.
Well, you are, see, the whole reason I do this podcast, Tough Talks, and you're such a perfect guest for the show. It's because it's a gift. It really, truly, it's a gift, right? To people, right? And as you know my history, so you know that one of the things that's most important to me is to inspire people to, well, not settle.
Right.
We could have had this interview without you having had and conquered ovarian cancer and still had plenty to say about not settling. But we have a lot more now to say about not just not settling, but not struggling or powering through struggle and not suffering unnecessarily. So, you know, the Tough Talks podcast exists to give people inspiration, right? And you are precisely that. So for the two people in the world that actually don't know who you are, who might be listening to this, now say your people are listening and watching and go, wait, did he just say people? There's actually someone in the world that doesn't know who she is. So Manisha is a dear friend of mine, and Manisha is one of the most accomplished actors from Bollywood and globally, not just Bollywood now. So what I want to speak with you about today is your incredible, not just the book, the story. So for those of you listening on audio and podcast version, I'm holding up her book, which is entitled Healed: How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. And you're co-written with Neelam Kumar, who, by the way, I just want to give some props to. I don't know Neelam, but props to Neelam for, you know, the assistance that you got. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Deserves that. Yeah.
Look, this, you know, you have done, you guys have done a phenomenal job of capturing this story. So you were diagnosed with actually you were diagnosed with stage 3, but you had stage 4, late stage ovarian cancer.
Right.
Only 19% of people who are given that diagnosis live or survive.
Right.
You were one of those 19%. Right. And it wasn't without a lot of suffering and a lot of support. And apparently a lot of note taking, because I tell you, you tell this story in details. I mean, there's so many questions that we can't get to, from like Zakia, wonderful Zakia, you know, and the jacket, and her say, just give it back to me when you're done. And the Maori healers, like I have goosebumps as I'm talking about these Maori healers, who, just so people know, in case we don't get to it, like back in the day, I don't even know why, but you had these Maori healers at your house or something, and they were doing some ritual. And one of them said that we got an issue over there. She was holding her hands over your body and said, hold on, we got an issue. Called the other one over, and they're like, yeah. What did they say? They said, your ovaries are red hot. And this is long before your diagnosis, right?
Yeah, almost 6-7 months back.
That's amazing. And that's a topic. I don't know if we'll get to it, but I mean, that's an amazing thing. Is like, how do these humans know that something's up? That's mind, body. That's amazing stuff. But maybe we'll get to that. What I was hoping we could do is, because you do such an excellent job articulating the story in the book, and it's most of the book. It's actually more than half. Is the story of the cancer, the diagnosis, all the world travel, the healing at Sloan Kettering, the amazing doctors, all your suffering, chemo, all that, finally getting the announcement that you're cancer-free. And then the rest of the book, and this is what really hit me harder, was how you have chosen since then to be. Who and how you have chosen to be. So then the rest of the book now, of course, you know, a place that you went to do the deepest introspection and deep spiritual growth. And you know, this place matters to me. Look, I got the picture of right here. Here's this. I had to steal this place, which is a little weird. I stole it from like the most spiritual place in the world. A thief. Right? But yeah, I'm out in bed.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know better than anyone how meaningful that place is. You're the one that turned me on to oneness, and of all the work I've ever done in my life, that continues to be the most profound of anything. So I love that you included. You were there for a long time. You went back. Now you've been to oneness tons of times.
Right.
This was the longest stay.
Yes.
All right.
By far.
By far, right? Like months: May, June, July, August, September. So we'll get to that, because I think that is like, you know, there's so many gifts. Like my pledge to the audience here, I'm going to shut up in a second. I swear to God, I'm going to let my guests talk at some point. Is that everybody gets to walk away with something concrete that they can do. And you wrap the book up with precisely that, like 15 things, 9 of them for everyone, 6 more specifically for women that that I found perfectly useful and valuable to me as well. So we'll get to that stuff. So can you take us through just a tiny bit of your unbelievably unusual life, and then like a synopsized version of your cancer story, but then let's dive deep on the rest, which is how you've chosen to be and who you've chosen to be and what you recommend for people because of your experience. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Sounds great.
All right. So tell us about you.
So, well, CD, that I am an Indian film actress, and been working for last 30 years in the cinemas. And I think I'm a little short on 100 movies, so 90 plus movies, and so stuff like that. And I've had a fairly an exciting, good career, and but also I think what I've written in the book, and I've not really touched too much of that part, is about my Bollywood life, and maybe someday I'll write a book. Maybe not. I'll just see. But basically, acting in movies, and then had a troublesome personal space, personal equations, had cancer also of the last stage, and not great prognosis, not great this thing, but luckily it's been like 8-9 years now, and I'm cancer free, and I'm healthy, and I'm living, and I think every day I live with the gratitude that I'm alive, that I can breathe, that I can enjoy this life. And yeah, I get to do great work. I still get to act. I I think life's been very kind to me. Life's been very, very kind to me. But it's been like a really huge roller coaster ride. Some big highs and equally big lows. So
You
yeah.
know, you have, okay, so I'll accept from you that you are fortunate,
Mhm.
but I will not
Absolutely.
accept. You didn't say this, but I'm not. I wouldn't. If you did, I wouldn't accept it. That that is the reason for your success. No, you are someone that, in my experience, is not very inhibited to ask for what they want,
That's true.
and that's very powerful.
That's true.
You mentioned it many times in the book that you are confident and impatient,
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
perfectly accurate.
I used to be. I used to be. I mean, there's been changes in me. So
Hopefully, you lose the confident part, right? Maybe you've learned patience. It sounds like you did. Like, you know, I mean, if you can
I
learn. in solitude?
I'm focused.
Mm.
I'm driven. I'm focused, and I feel every human being. In fact, this book is dedicated to every human being, and that I feel truly that we have this potential in us, which we don't recognize that we have. I think everybody can achieve their dream. So I have that feel, the willpower, the drive, the focus to go for what I want. Yes,
I
you're
think
right.
it was your first. What was your very first film? The very first one.
Okay, I did a Nepali film. My first ever film was a Nepali film, and that was a fluke. And during that film, I realized that I must get into Bollywood because that is a much bigger film industry. And I
What was
went
your
to Mumbai. And yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Rest,
the
rest.
first one there? What was the first? Because there's a story that I want you to tell because it's
Mhm.
huge. It really stood out for me. Was it the first Bollywood movie? What was that one?
The Bollywood movie, the first Bollywood movie was Saudagar.
Okay, that's it. So you were,
Yeah.
I don't know if you were auditioning, but the guy, I don't know if it was a director, but someone in charge had a, you,
Oh, that's my
back.
third or fourth film.
Oh, all right.
And that's a good story because um, this is 1942, a love story where the film was being made, and the director was doing everybody's all the top actresses screen tests,
Okay.
and I went for the screen test, and the director said you're a shit actress, and I just I just couldn't take that. I said, what? No, I mean I really love this job. And okay, then I said, please, 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 please give me one more chance, and I'm going to come back tomorrow. Honestly, CD, I had no idea what I was going to do different tomorrow.
Ah,
But I just had the 2 or 3 pages with me. I went back home and I put in every minute I had till tomorrow to repeat, repeat. And I didn't eat, I didn't sleep. My mother thought I was going crazy. She was worried sick. She said, forget about this movie. It's no big deal. You're a good actress. You don't have to get this movie. Just don't go crazy like this. But I said, no, Ma, I have to give my 200%, not 100, but 200%. And so I just went. I just took as much as I could, took all that in. And next day when I went and performed, he said, Manisha, if you were 0 yesterday, you are 100 today. So
and the rest is history, as they say. But the thing that I love most about that story, and I think that is a real takeaway, so I want to slow it down for folks, is when you just said, I had no idea what I was going to do differently tomorrow. I mean,
yep,
I begged for the opportunity to have a do-over without knowing what the hell I was going to do differently.
right.
That is amazing. Okay. Because now, see, that's a big takeaway, right? Because that's like, okay, I know I want this. I cannot see how. I've already just been given some really bad feedback, right? But, I mean, pretty harsh. You are a shit actor. Okay. It doesn't get a whole lot from that. But then you just know, I don't care. This is me not getting what I want. I want to get what I want. I want to create this. So just give me another chance. What are you going to do differently? I'll let you know later, and then go figure it out. And that's a confidence of another level that I think we would all benefit from, right? Because one of the things that I believe that we've all learned, the conditioning of our past, as Bhagwan would say, that we need to free ourselves from, is needing to know how before we can declare that, right? Need to know how, or am I qualified? Am I ready to say, no, I want this, let's go for it, and then we'll figure it out. And you do. So that's cool. I love that story. There's another story that stood out for me that I thought was fascinating, but it was a small one, but not small because it didn't take up a lot of the pages, but huge to me, which is when after your surgery, you had all these staples. They cut you open.
Right.
And, I mean, wide open, you know, because the cancer was all over the place. Your doctor, Chi,
Right.
did like heavenly work. Your doctor sounds
Yes.
so amazing. I would like to meet them. They just sound like a bunch of angels.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why Sloan Kettering is Sloan Kettering. So you were having your staples removed, and you were freaking out. I mean, you've been through so much shit anyway. So now this, you're like, ow, 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 right? And the
Mm.
nurse who was silent. Can you tell the story?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing incident. First of all, I'm saying it lightly, but to see myself, after when I could go into the bathroom and to take shower or to wipe myself off, and for the first time when I saw myself stapled all the way, I almost going to fall down. I just couldn't visualize, see. I have never seen something like that ever in my life,
Wow.
and I was so scared. Anyways, after I got over the shock, the time had come for the nurses to clip it off. I'm not used to that. I've never had major surgeries, so I really had no idea.
Yeah.
So she was going on clip, 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 and then with each clip I was shivering, and I was like really quivering and shivering and making sounds, and she looked at me and she said, that should be the least of your worry, and what is inside your stomach is more worrisome than this.
Didn't she
And
also say, okay, so she had been silent. I have this. I marked this. I put a lot, I made some notes here. So each time, you say, each time she snipped with her steel pinchers, I yelped loudly. She had not spoken until then, but now she did. She stopped mid snip, looked me straight in the eye, her blue ones locking with my brown ones, and asked, "Is it really hurting, or are you just scared?"
sorry. Yeah. That, yes. Sorry. Yes. And yeah, and that kind of compelled me to actually pause
Yeah.
and is it really hurting me or I'm just scared?
Yeah. I thought that was
And
huge.
it was the fear
You were, it
because
sounded
of the
like you.
sound, because of of the visual.
Hmm.
I assumed it must be paining me, and when she looked at me, when she said that, is it really hurting? And I said, actually, no. The story previously, which I told you, was there were holes in my stomach,
Yes.
and that uh, you know I used to be really really scared of, and I used to say, "Will it heal?" Blah blah blah, and then the nurse kind of turned around and said, that you shouldn't be worried about these small little things. You have a bigger problem inside. So, yeah.
Well, that doesn't sound very encouraging. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, the thing is, they are trained to be realistic and train the patient to focus on the right thing rather than
I see.
just because it's such a that phase every human being is lost. And I think people who know, like doctors and nurses who treat patient day in and day out, um, they kindly help the patient to navigate, you know. So I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that because I think she was trying to tell me be realistic.
Yeah. So you beat it, but it wasn't straight away. It wasn't like your surgery's over and you're fine. It took
Right.
it took what, like 2 years really before you were.
No. Normally the thing is, in cancer, and especially late stage cancer, apparently for 3 years there are 90% of chances that it comes back.
Wow.
And so I didn't know this. So I when I was cancer free, I was super happy, blah blah blah. And when I went to Dr. Chi, and he said, Doc, how long? So will I be cured one day? He said, he really looked at me and he wasn't sure, what to say to me.
Yeah.
And, so I said, okay, after how many years? Normally in earlier cancers, 5 years, if you're cancer free, you're considered cancer, cured. So I said, okay, after 5 years, he said, look, Manisha, first of all, 3 years, there are chances of 90% chances of it to come back. And then because you've had late stage cancer, 5 years is not something. It doesn't work for you. I said, okay, then how long? Like 6 years, 7 years? And he kept on looking at me. I said, "Doc, 10 years?" He laughed out. He said, yeah. I think by 10 years you could be considered. So he didn't believe that I was driving him to say that I'm going to get cured. No matter how long it's going to take,
Yeah.
I'll be cured. And you watch me, I'll be cured. So he just laughed and he couldn't believe this crazy patient of his.
Well, maybe he believed more, but I mean, if I was a doctor, I'd be careful about that too. But I certainly would, if I was a doctor, want to inspire hope in the most effective way that I could. But you maybe didn't need that as much as sometimes you say in the book, because you're one of the most confident people I've ever known. Now you've conquered it. You also studied the hell out of your condition, out of cancer in general, but health and wellness. And you have
Right.
really made some profound lifestyle changes.
Right.
I understand you are not a physician, but you can make the argument that if you're one of 19% that beats this, then you kind of are a healer. So those are my words, not yours.
Right.
Okay. But what are a couple things that, well, no, not a couple, because actually there's 9. And I'll go right to the page. Just some of the things, and I'm not asking you to quote yourself from the book. I can read it all right here. But what are some things that you've learned? Like, all right, let's go with this for first. Immunity. What are some things you've learned that we should all be doing, or at least conscious of, in order to boost our immune systems?
So basically, what I have understood about health is that our bodies are not just the physical body; it's emotional, mental, and physical, and of course spiritual. So all these aspects of our being is important. It needs to be in balance, and any of it goes off the mark, off the balance, it's bound to show it in the physical form.
Mm.
So some people can go through a lot of things, and I mean, and if they're strong and in the centered, nothing would happen to them. So
You
what
know,
I've understood,
go. I'm sorry. You go.
it's of course, like if physical body is important, so you need to eat right, you need to hydrate, you need to sleep well, blah blah, exercise and all that. But emotional health is equally important, and your mental health is equally important. And what I've also understood is um, like in spirituality, in spiritual worlds, I pray every night now, and I went in the book, there is that I went to Oneness University, and really needed to get some anchoring and emotional, spiritual anchoring, and I got that, and I move with that now. I don't go to Oneness anymore, but their teaching is with me still. So, and one can find that in whichever form. One doesn't have to go to a spiritual school, um, but you figure out something, yeah, that you connect to more than yourself. You know.
So,
Um,
in the chapter entitled Chapter 19, Cancer as My Gift, the quotes you chose are great, by the way, to start all the chapters. I love that. Uh, so you've got 9 suggestions here of some big lessons that you learned along the way. And is this, let's back it up a step. I want to ask you about that, but you mentioned Oneness, and I mean, just in the beginning of the interview, I just referenced it real quickly. But for people that don't know what that place is, what is this place we're referring to as Oneness, where you went, having gone many times before? I was there once and had a life-altering experience. I promise it's true. That was, I don't even know how many years. It's over a decade. And I promise that it is true. I've told you this before, and it's still true. And I anticipate it will remain true forever. There's not a day that goes by where I am not conscious of something I learned in that. And it was only 1 week experience that I had there. So can you tell us about Oneness University, and why did you go from May, June, July, August, and September?
Yeah, it's basically, I realized at that particular time that there were certain aspect of me which still wasn't corrected, or which still wasn't really healthy for my being. So I went that to, understand, dig deep, understand, and get something out of the situation. And I decided to just stay on. And I said, okay, I'm going to take as long as it takes. I don't know how long, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. I was ready, but I needed to get healed. I just could not live in ignorance anymore. I mean, I just couldn't do damage to myself, or live with that. So I went, and this time, because I actually had no other thing in my in agenda but to really live consciously, be conscious human being, and choose wisely, and don't be a victim of a situation, rather than see if there is some programming which is really not healthy, and work on that. And so that was the whole process for me.
That part, I'm looking for it. I know I've marked it, but what the hell good is having 50 pieces of Post-its in here? We don't know what they mean, because I didn't label them all. I got too excited. Let's throw Post-its in there. Like, that's a good page. That's a good page. But in all seriousness, what really, really moved me reading this book towards the end is when you were talking about, like, why do I need to go to Oneness? Why is it that I'm even going? The intention behind, you just touched on it. And you were taking the hard look inside.
Yes.
That most people probably never do. Like the no bullshit. How am I showing up? Who am I being? And this is so, I was reading this and I was in, when you get in rapture and you forget that you're reading and you're in it, and then time just goes and you don't know because you're so engulfed. What I was experiencing was your willingness, the courage that you demonstrated to be totally vulnerable and transparent as like a recognized famous person. That's
Yes.
a lot of courage. So I want to point that out and acknowledge you big time, because there's a difference between somebody, like me, who nobody in the world knows of, doing the hard work. Well, that's solitary. Here you are going, here I am. Yeah, here's me. And I'm writing about it and I'm sharing it proudly. So my favorite of all your performances.
Well, so I needed to be honest and authentic for my sake as well, because I wanted to live. I This was a new me, and I really it's something that I wanted to honor my living, and for that I needed to be authentic.
Can you give us little snippets here, right? As we wrap up, as we get close to wrapping up here. Here's some of the things that, like the gifts, right? The gifts, and that's what this all is. Healed. How cancer gave me a new life. Okay, tell us about. And we don't need to wax on forever about these things, but you just listed like 9 things that are for all people that obviously stood out for you, and as learning from the process, and doing the work that it takes. You did the work. Live
Mhm.
mindfully in the here and now. Okay, so what does that mean? I know a lot of people. Yeah, I hear that. What's that mean?
Basically, it's just being present, and I'm a human being, and so is everybody, and we kind of tend to go into our heads and stuff like that. But if we are present, if we are aware about, a lot of our problems are actually here, not in actuality.
That's good. I love that. I love that. Like the stables. Ow! Seriously? No. No. Okay. Bullshit here.
Yeah.
I'm responding. I'm responding to the pain that I was anticipating. So I can see that. Her go, seriously? And you go, yeah, no. Gratitude, I'm big on like high grade states and emotions, and you talk about the attitude of gratitude, and that's one of my favorite ones, right? So
Mm.
why is that relative or relevant rather in your experience here?
I feel whatever you give attention to, it multiplies, and
Oh,
we tend to complain a lot. We tend to, it's such a weird sense of getting security by complaining, so that if that gets corrected, my life will be perfect, and that's why we complain, and we are fooling ourselves by trying to make our lives perfect by complaining about things that is not working. But we actually start looking at things which is working for us.
mm,
We
mm.
it's just a new world. It's it just click. Oh, that's working for me. That's working for me. This is gorgeous, and this whole life is magical. It's beautiful. It's so many things that is right in our life, and maybe one thing that doesn't work, we pick that up and we complain about that. So it's having a new eye to look at life.
Well, that's powerful. What we give, what is it? What you think about, you bring about, right? Where energy flows, where attention goes, energy flows. What you think about, you bring about. All that. Um, do you know that I'm a big fan of Osho?
Yeah, I know.
His was the mustard seed, but this is back when had a longer name. Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh was the first spiritual book I ever was given, and you mentioned something that actually is from him. I learned it from him, and I'd love for you to comment on it, and then we'll wrap it up because I know it's late as hell over there. And it's the distinction between loneliness and aloneness. Can you talk to that?
That is a big one for me. Because I used to feel lonely a lot, because I grew up in a joint family, not much that parental attention. Um, and then I was working and living in Mumbai alone, and so I guess a loneliness was haunting me, and was like a shadow, and I used to feel trapped with that. And to get out of that, I did, what we human beings tend to do, and that would multiply my loneliness. But You know, the whole, this is a fine line, you know, and it's again in oneness, and having company like yourself. I also realize, you know, aloneness, all oneness.
Yes. So good.
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you're a big teacher, CD. You've taught me many things, and thank you for that. You know,
Beautiful.
so many times. You know, great.
That's,
Whenever I'm in trouble, I call you,
I
and
love it.
thank you.
I love that. That's fun.
Thank you for being there. You know.
And I always will be, you know it. So yeah, Osho said, loneliness is the absence of the other. Aloneness is the presence of one's self. And you, my friend, have been doing the amazing work of reconnecting with self and acknowledging. You even dropped some quantum physics in here. You went there. You went there. Talking about interconnectedness of all things. I'm like, you get it. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. This has been amazing. What's next? What can we expect to see from the great Manisha? Huh?
I, you know,
Whatever.
you know, life is, yeah, it's open. I'll be doing more movies. There'll be more books for sure.
Oh,
And today I'm totally kicked about. Probably I need to push my film, which I want to write and direct also,
very nice.
and so on and so forth. Yeah, and
Well,
life is great.
thank you for the inspiration. Thank you from the world. I will be so bold as to speak for all of us. Since we're all interconnected anyway, thank you for demonstrating the courage to to use boldness and courage through tragedy, to come out happy and healthier on the other side, then to follow it up and do the work to continue to leverage that suffering into growth.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for blessing my Tough Talks tribe with your presence. Appreciate you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Well, thank you, my friend. Manisha, if you watch this, I really appreciate the words that you, everything that you just shared with everyone. And I personally appreciate the especially kind words there towards me at the end. It's very, very gracious of you. And I appreciate you tremendously. And I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your vulnerability, your courage to be transparent, your courage to do the work, first of all, to grow from such an event, the courage to take an honest inward look and to take an inventory of how you are showing up in this life, and then to go do the deep healing work to upgrade the ways that you weren't particularly fond of. And then to share it with the world as a famous person. Takes courage. Way to go. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, great miracles.